Happy Friday. It's the last Friday that we'll be doing this for the year. So that's very interesting. Let's see. And I want to talk about what have you learned this year as a therapist, as a sex therapist? What have you learned this year?
Yeah. Um, I have learned a lot about myself as a parent. I'm a new parent.
Mm,
And so that's been a big part. She's been with me now a year and a half. So
wow.
I've learned a lot about that. Yeah. I've learned a lot about how frustrating slow the adoption and legal process is for that. That's been very frustrating. I've learned more about who I am in my neurodiverse space. I've
Mm.
discovered more, like I read Divergent Mind, and that really helped solidify that I'm fairly positive I have ADHD and autism, which is super interesting. Um, and then more recently, I think I've learned a lot about how I view relationships and marriage, and still still trying to wrap my head around some of that, of like, what does that look like and what does that mean for me as a therapist and moving forward.
Mm.
But it's interesting because I feel like I have learned more than anything else in the last year that I do well in very niche spaces. I am not for mass consumption. And so that's harder because there are a lot of people in those niche spaces, but like they're spread out more, and they may not be consuming the same mass things that other people are consuming. And so then it's figuring out, okay, how do I find the people that I think I will work with the best, that will enjoy me the most, that will make really good progress together, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
wow. Okay, that'll be interesting to continue to have that conversation with you, especially as
Yeah.
we dive deeper into some marketing things. So let's see, what do I feel like I've learned this year? This year, I don't know. I feel like I can't even remember the beginning of the year to figure out if I learned anything in the beginning of the year. Um, the beginning of the year for me was about kind of being consistent. And so with it was my exercise routine. That was the biggest thing. And then I think that helped me just kind of see some other areas in my life where I wasn't consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And consistency is really about kind of the follow up and the um reattuning and kind of reattuning, like, oh, we've gone off, bring it back. Oh, we've gone
Mm-hmm.
off, bring it back, which has mirrored, I think, my work with couples, because when they fall off, like, helping them figure out, okay, how do we put in a feedback structure that gets us back so that
Mm-hmm.
we wind up where we want to go and not like off into the bushes. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's been really interesting to see how that has played throughout. It's like the equivalent to buying a new car and now everybody has your car. Like, wow, who knew that they made this many models? And so it's just like I put on the lens of consistency. Wow, who knew that everybody else was inconsistent in all of these areas? So I feel like that was the first half of the year. The second half of the year, I think I have been pleasantly surprised with the power of an online community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think I have, because I'm a person of a certain age and a certain generation, not really understood the power of online.
Yeah.
Um, period. And I don't know why, because I think, the information has, like been obvious, but this year I've just really seen the power of it. For
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of indifferently as I've ventured out to do some coaching things, and we're like, wow, really? That just, you've never met me and now you want to hire me. That's just so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. So with that, let's see, for my couples, I don't know if I've learned anything new for them. I haven't learned anything new for them, but I'm looking forward to um, reattuning back into the sex therapy world in 2025 to see what newness I can bring to my couples. So,
Absolutely. I think for my individual clients, I think with couples, I gained a new appreciation, or potentially even appreciation to very begin with, about how much of a struggle men have. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of my world and my practice has been the struggles of women because predominantly they
Yeah.
are in a more struggling position
Mm-hmm.
overall. But I think there's a lot of men that are really struggling out there, and being able to
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that struggle and what they are wanting to build and create. That was really helpful for me to kind of have that appreciation of what that looks like for them, and being able to see biases in my own thinking, to
Mm-hmm.
kind of challenge that is really important.
It's really interesting you said that because it was one day I was actually on my little part time job at CVS,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at my schedule, and let's say I had 8 people that day. 6 of them were men.
Mm,
Because I was like, is my schedule majority men? Like, and it's very interesting. So I think there's um, a, 2 shifts in culture. I think one that I don't want to say men are having a harder time than women because women have a hard time too, but
mm,
maybe their awareness of
has
that they're
increased.
having a hard time period is shifting,
Mm-hmm.
and also the permission to say it out loud, at least to a professional, is
Yeah.
shifting. And so it's been very, very interesting to have these conversations. Um, but I don't think ever in life, I won't say that. I will say that is a newer phenomenon for
Mm-hmm.
a therapist to have, unless they specialize in men or like
Mm-hmm.
work at the VA. Like it is not. I don't think any of my colleagues, unless they again, and I don't even know who specializes in men anymore. We had a guy in Atlanta, and
Eric
I think
Rogers, from LPCA, specializes
he,
in men's work.
oh, okay, good, good, good. We used to have this guy. They called him the anger guy. Like he was the anger guy therapist.
Mm.
And I think he either moved away or had some health issues or something. So very much needed. So it's very, very interesting. Um, one thing that we might need to focus on as a practice is how to make sure that we are more aware of men's issues.
Well, and one of the things that at the Masculinity Matters conference, they were talking about how men are not taught or socialized in the same way that women are. And resulting, they are having a much harder time finding community. And that
Mm,
community is what is really important, to have that extra support, to have that group of people to go to when things are struggling, to have that space independent of their spouses, to where they
mm-hmm.
have that support. Because I think a lot of the couples that I even work with, like, it's work, it's home. And so if
Yeah.
one of those are going wrong or both of those are going wrong, it's a
Mm-hmm.
very isolating experience, to
Mm-hmm.
where they've fallen off with friends from school, like they're not in touch, like families are starting, they're trying to figure out what that looks like, and they're just not finding that community, either in new dads or newly married, or dealing with career changes. Like, I had a client reach out to me about men's support and growth programs, and there's actually a lot out there.
Mm.
And but I think it's harder. It's harder to find. Either you don't realize that they're out there, and so you don't look for them, or you don't realize how important they are. But teaching men how to build that community of, like, what
Mm-hmm.
does that look like? What do you enjoy? Where can you go to spaces where you can find other people that enjoy that as well?
Yeah, that's really good. And I will say, I think that if there's a gift of the podcast world, I think that may be one of the gifts of the podcast world is
Mm-hmm.
that you do hear more men talking about more topics,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully, I won't say hopefully, but some of them definitely are talking in a more, I want to say intimate way, but I don't feel like that's the right word, in a more
Mm-hmm.
or a more deeply introspective way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which I love because it's becoming a great model for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was listening to this guy briefly. I think his podcast is like one rental at a time. But
Okay.
he even though it's talking about rental properties, he talks in a very like it's okay to mess up. Like it's okay to have life experiences. It's okay to get something wrong and to rebuild and start again. And so it's he brings such a realness to it.
Yeah.
That even though I'm not interested about a rental property, I'm very interested in who this guy is, um, and just his way of being in the world. So it's very interesting. So I hope more conversations get started about just kind of living life and doing life and the ups and downs of life. That day that I had all of those guys, the theme was pretty much the same. And I saw I had about a 30 when I had to laugh, and I was like, I gotta tell you, like the theme for men that brings them into therapy is basically they thought they were invincible, secretly Superman, and life has hit them in a way that has shown them that they have no control at all. Yeah. And so whether it's like just some financial things that happened that were completely out of their control, like recovering from the pandemic. Some industries were taken out. Health issues where they've tried their best to be healthy. They've always been healthy, and something just oddly health has happened. Or like a relationship that just fell apart, or health of family members. And so, like for example, he's a football player. He's on Good Morning America. And his daughter.
Not be able to provide you with that.
It's okay. It'll come. Michael Strahan. Yeah, he had a daughter who had a brain tumor, like size of a golf ball in her brain. And so, for a man like him who has been successful at everything that he's done, and then to face something that you can't do anything about, the one thing.
And so like. I understand that phrasing, and that you can't, like, there are absolutely circumstances beyond our control. I am very much not the person that's like, there's nothing you can do. There's absolutely things you can do. Are they going to be effective for that particular thing? Potentially no, but like you can donate to research on that particular area. You can support your child as they're going through that. You can support your spouse as they're dealing with their emotions. There are things that you can do to make that situation better.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't reduce the size of the tumor or make sure that they're healthy and survive that experience.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where we get so wrapped up, and there's nothing I can do. It's completely out of my control. Yes. And there's still things that you have the power to affect. And I think a lot of times we forget the control that we do have in our own lives and our own relationships of there's still time. Like there's still, like, I get very frustrated. It's like, oh, well, I'm a bad husband. I'm a bad partner. I'm a bad wife.
Right.
Oh, there's nothing I can do.
No, because I had that exact same client, like that conversation yesterday with somebody. And it was like, wait. First of all, how are you defining what a good husband is, what a good wife is, what a good sister, what a good brother is? How are you defining that?
Yeah.
Then is it realistic? is it realistic?
Are we setting the bar way too high?
Way too high. And then after we figure out, is it realistic? Is it something you can actually do? So if you feel like being a good sister, realistically, you can call your sister once a week and just say hello. Let's do that.
Well, and understanding the importance of those small gestures are so much more impactful than grand trips and romantic gestures and custom built meals. Like, yeah, you may be failing to provide these grand gestures, but it's not really about that. And especially like so close to Christmas, because I shared my own panic around making sure that I was being a good parent and providing a good Christmas for my kid. It is not this one day. And I had to talk with a couple of people, like, what do you remember about your childhood Christmases? I remember we opened presents. I remember, like, they don't remember individual things for the most part. Like, that's pretty Like, and so like
Mhm.
my good friend of mine, she's like, when you're a teenager, it's really more like I see a lot of presence versus like there's this one thing that's just going to blow me out of the water. Like,
Mhm.
and so it's like, okay, I've got the lots of stuff. Is some of it more practical? Yes, because that's kind of where we are. And so like
Mhm.
that's not a bad thing because I try and make the practical things fun. So like when I'm getting shirts and clothing, it has like Deadpool or mushrooms or
Mhm.
like things that she likes and enjoys. And so that's the intentionality of yes, it's a practical thing, but it's also something that she enjoys because
Yeah.
I'm putting that thought and intention towards who my kid is. And
Yeah.
those little things make a difference.
So many things to say. Okay, I think I want to back up and say one of the things that I would love for our clients to do is reality. What you did was kind of reality test their ideas. Okay, this is what I'm thinking. Is this true? What do you remember? And so to make sure that they're doing kind of that extra level of thinking about how they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to point out to a lot of people is that they made these rules of what a good so and so is way before this period of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so also please just sit yourself down where you're not feeling good about something. Sit yourself down and say, when did I come up with this definition?
Who
When?
influenced this definition?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna say, if it was a TV show, throw it out the window immediately, like
immediately.
immediately. Um, period. Just
Yeah.
period, and just give yourself some grace and mercy. I think if people start sitting down, they will realize overwhelmingly a lot of things came from TV, and they forgot that TV is TV.
It's fake. Yeah.
Right. That these people are standing around on a stage waiting to act in a certain
Mm-hmm.
way that was designed to be a fantasy world and take you away from your world, take you out of your
Mm-hmm.
world into their world where you could laugh, where you could
Mm-hmm.
enjoy a moment. And so TV is TV for a reason. I will say the more TV shows these days are trying to become
Better.
more
Yes.
like realistic in life.
It's
And
so
I have
funny. My
mixed
mom,
feelings about that.
yeah, my mom was showing me like Petticoat Junction from when she was growing up. And I was
Mhm.
like, ooh, you can definitely tell who wrote this. Like, it is very much for a man. Like, it centers women, but them being naked, them swimming together, them being dressed a particular way, them being fetishized in a particular way. And I personally, I know you had said that you have mixed feelings about it. I really like when shows are showing the messiness of life that like
Yeah.
we're not going to wrap things up with a bow because that's not real life.
So I'll tell you what my mixed feelings are.
Yeah.
Me, the therapist, I like that there's more reality out there so that clients aren't in a fantasy world and then trying to make their lives like that fantasy world. Me, the individual who has to deal with the reality of people's lives, when I watch a TV show, I want the fantasy. Take me to another planet where the good guy always wins.
Yeah.
Like that is what I want. Like I know reality is hard. And just spent 8 hours with people talking about the hardness of reality. And so me as a person, like I want a happy ending. It doesn't have to make sense. I want everybody happy at the end, even the aliens, if we're gonna do.
I do have to like acknowledge that like I can't watch shows that have that constant cliffhanger or that constant anxiety running through them. Like either so like some medical shows or cop shows. Like I do Criminal Minds fairly often, but I don't feel like it does that. But there's
Mm,
some shows that it's just constant emergencies. It's constant horrible things happening, and I'm like, no, I
that's
can't.
funny.
I need a balance.
It's so funny. I can't do medical shows for whatever reason. I think a little bit of a hypochondriac, so I just stay away from
Mm,
medical shows for the most part. I cannot do reality TV. I
no.
go into like a little therapy mode. Like that is ridiculous. I can't believe that said that. Like that's so unhealthy. That's like I just.
My mom got upset because we watched Moana 2 over Thanksgiving. And I was like, and we rewatched Moana 1, which I had just saw an article or kind of talking about through the trauma lens of
Mm.
this is like working with someone who has dealt with extreme trauma. So Tafiti had her heart stolen and is angry and lashing out
Yeah.
and punishing anyone, even if they're trying to help.
Oh.
And it's getting to the point of, you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be upset. This shouldn't have happened to you.
Yeah.
And that's when like they touch foreheads at the end and like she's able to get the heart back and she's able to like, okay, I can accept the healing. I can accept the growth. And Mom's like, this is so different watching a children's movie with a therapist. And I'm like, well, here we are.
I forgot about Moana too. Okay, I'm gonna watch it this weekend at the girl. I'm having a girl spend a night party, so we'll watch.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, I love.
Well, and it has some really great like therapy themes too. So I would love to hear your thoughts of the therapy.
I can't wait. I'm like excited. I'm excited. I'm so excited. Probably more excited than they're gonna be. Like Auntie.
I think to a certain extent, how we are modeling our excitement, like they're depending on the age. Like my daughter's 14. And so a lot of the times it's like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. Oh my God. And I kind of want to go in harder in those moments of like, yes, I'm just embracing the embarrassment. I'm living in it. I'm going to revel in it to show like, we don't need to be shirking back if we're doing something different or doing something weird. Like I tell her, I was like, we honor weird in this house. Weird is the best. Like we want to be different. Like we want to be weird. And so like, we're not going to shame anybody for doing that. And like, including each other of like, yep, nope, go be weird. Go do your thing. Like,
that's so good. That's so good. I'm so excited about Mo. I can't believe I hadn't watched it yet. All right. Anything else? Any last thoughts for the year?
As we are very much entering, so tomorrow is the winter solstice. It is Yule. Yeah. It is the shortest day of the year. From that point forward, light will start coming back into the world. And so like it is the darkest, literally. If this starts to feel like the worst time of year, it is the shortest day of the year. It is going to be the least amount of light. It's going to be the longest amount of night. And remember that literally on the 22nd, you're going to start getting more light and it's just going to be a little bit, but it's going to grow. And so being very mindful of this is a period of time and rest and rejuvenation, hibernation, calm it down, like bring everything down. And it's okay if you're sad. It's okay if you're recovering. It's okay if this is not the best. You're not in a race with anyone else. You just need to take care of yourself.
Oh, that's really good. That's really, really good. I want to take a moment to just talk to anybody who the holidays are not the best for you. And so please make sure, I'm going to flat out say, if you know that there's a possibility that you could be suicidal, put the suicide hotline number in your phone. That pain, a lot of suicidality is the pain of the moment. And so if you can call somebody in that moment, you'll probably make it through.
And so also, like even the littlest thing to live for, if it's keeping your plants alive, if it's keeping your cat alive, if it's keeping your dog alive, that is worth living for. And if that's the only reason that you have to live today, that is okay. Potentially adopting an animal from a shelter if you do not have an animal to kind of give, like, there's amazing things for petting animals and interacting with animals. And so definitely look into that. Definitely so.
And also, if you know you're sensitive, vulnerable around these days, then do something completely different. Like go skydiving, go rock climbing, on a cruise. Like don't just sit there in the quiet darkness that could be. Watch what you're watching on TV. Like if you know you're susceptible, then do not watch the Hallmark movies. Like I was joking with one of my clients last night. I was like, I want you watching The Terminator. I want you watching like very aliens action-packed. Do not fall into like the holiday movies. Not even the holiday action movies, because they'll have they'll have like a
little Die Hard at the end of like
and now the couple's back together after they've blown up the world. And so like just stay away from it all. Like this needs to be Star Trek. Like this needs to be, and so be very thoughtful about how you need to take care of yourself, you know. If there are certain people that you would love to hang around with, but it just hurts a little bit, tell them you love them and you're going hiking. Like, hey, I love you. I'll catch you in January and going hiking. Like, do what you need to do. Do it in a very, I like compassionate way. Not y'all suck and I'm out of here. Like, please don't do that. But hey, I'm needing something different this holiday.
Yep.
I think the other thing is I had two people, close people to me, send a text saying like, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to financially, do a big Christmas." And I gotta tell you, it just hurts my heart that they thought that they had to, or they even thought that they had to let me know that they were not able to. Like, it's like, I just, were you feeling pressure? That's what I always want to call it. Like, were you feeling pressure? Like,
yeah. And that's what I think a lot of society doesn't realize of how much pressure is involved with the holidays.
Yeah. And so if to anybody who's feeling pressure out there, take the pressure off yourself. Please take the pressure off yourself. The people who love you don't care whether you give them a $10 gift from Walmart or not, or 100. Like, they want you, and they don't want you to be stressed, or feel less than. I think that was the other part. Like, are you like how I just felt so bad that they felt like they had to say that. And so that anybody who's feeling like, oh my God, I need to apologize for not having, you don't. You don't. Just show up. Show up. And yeah, just show up. So all right, I'm wishing you a happy holiday season.
Thank you. You as well.
And yeah. Thank you for showing up.
Absolutely.
All these times this year. I so enjoy these talks, and hopefully everybody else does too. All right, have a great
holidays.
day. You too. Bye.
Bye.